Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 1205. I just had a sneezing attack. So I also shaved this morning. I'm just checking to see. Did I miss any spots? I shave in the shower. I do not shave in front of the mirror. So sometimes I miss some spots shaving in the shower. So I went and bought a scale yesterday. I had to drop Biscuit off at the groomer, and I'm like, well, I need some painter's tape. Can always get some more envelopes. So been thinking about getting a scale. And hey, when I was there, I'm gonna look at fishing poles. So went to Walmart, got a scale, got my painter's tape, got some envelopes. So I got home. I wanted to see what type of progress I've made on this weight loss excursion adventure. And this is why I didn't want to get a scale, didn't want to chase numbers, because chasing numbers can lead to bad habits. And I got on the scale. Now, the scale that I weighed myself on and the scale that I used are different. They can vary. Also, I jumped on like with all my clothes on. I had a heavy, whatever I was wearing yesterday, heavy shirt, long sleeve shirt, jeans. So that's going to affect it a little bit too. So I'd lost, I think, 6 or 7 pounds from the doctor's visit 5 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of disappointing. But they say like a healthy weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds a week. I'm like, okay, well, I had a lot to like shed. I was hoping it'd be more like 2 pounds a week. But then I weighed myself this morning and I'm down 11 pounds. So I don't know if it's probably the time of the day. I didn't have heavy clothes on, so that's going to probably be a couple pounds. But so, figure 10 pounds in 5 weeks. I'll take that. The number doesn't mean as much to me as the shirt's fitting. I don't want no buttons popping off my shirt. The jeans are fitting better. Another notch on the belt. That's the important part. Feeling better, I guess, is the most important part, with the exception of these damn allergies. Maybe I'm allergic to weight loss. Maybe I need like Casey's pizza. I need to start eating frozen pizza twice a week. That'll kill off the allergies. I don't think it works like that. So Zach Import brings up a good point. That's why you want like slow, melt it off slowly. When people lose weight fast, it goes back on fast. Weight isn't like listings. Slow and steady, consistent weight loss is better long-term. And so that's even though I think we all crave fast results. That's just the society we're in these days. I guess all in all, if I'm around 10 pounds in 5 weeks, that's probably a good thing. So keep it off. So also while I was at Walmart, I'm walking back to the paint section to get my tape. I see fishing poles. Actually, no, first I saw outdoor like lounge chairs, like the cheapy things you take to picnics and campouts and stuff like that. Well, I don't have one of those anymore. I used to have I used to go outside more. I used to do things. And now I don't. Now I sit in my basement, which is what led to my weight gain. In frozen pizza, Casey's Pizza. So I'm like, I need to get one because I want. Do I need one? No, but I want one for one reason. I want to sit by the pond. I don't want to take, and I've been thinking about. Well, I got some chairs, but I don't have like a good, comfortable like lounge chair that you sit outside in. So I'm looking around. They have, back in the last time I was shopping for these types of outdoor chairs, you had like 2 or 3 to choose from. You had the standard chair. Then you had chair with can holder. That was like the premium model back 20 years ago. And then you had like the super duty with like a lounger and all that. So I went in, I'm like, holy shit, they have your standard version, and then basically the cup holders like standard now. They had some with like sun canopies, over like directors chairs, like oversized. They've got like little pods where you just kind of like sink in. What else? They have rockers. I'm like, damn, they've got a lot of selections these days for outdoor chairs. So I'm shopping. I thought they have backpack. Now that was like, you can just strap it on your back. It's like for, I guess, hikers. Or hey, it'd be good if you're going to the National, need a nice, comfy outdoor chair, look through bargain boxes. That's the one I was looking at. Like, this is pretty nice. And it was like low, like, okay, man, maybe this might work. But it was white, and it's like, well, I don't know. So I ended up buying one. I bought a step up from the can holder. It's got a cooler also. So the left armrest has a small cooler. It fits, I think, 9 cans, and it's like cooler material zip. Like, damn, that's pretty cool. I can go down by the pond, take a few beers with me. I don't have to run back to the house. Doesn't that go against my whole weight thing? So that's the one I opted for. Then while I'm there, it's like, well, what am I going to do while I'm sitting by the pond? Fishing poles. So I'm looking at fishing poles. I know I've got a couple fishermen. I don't know if they're in the chat. I think Kyle's in the chat. Is Kyle here? Maybe Kyle. Oh, yeah, there's Kyle. Kyle's here. I don't know if Dorky Angler's in the house or not. Shane. Pretty sure they're both fishermen. So I'm looking at fishing pole. I just want a cheap fishing pole with like minimal work. So I'm looking, I'm like, how the hell did these work? I haven't held a fishing pole in 25 years. I'm like, I wouldn't know where to start. It's like, do they have, I'm like looking around, and I almost asked like somebody, I couldn't find anybody. It was like 9 a.m. So nobody's working yet. But it's like, do I add, like, can I get like do you have a floor model that I can just take and like, I don't have to string, I just, have to put the worm on the hook. Do you have anything like that where I can just take it and So they did have some that the string was already in there. So I actually watched a YouTube video last night, how to string a fishing pole. It was actually helpful. So I think, I don't know, at some point, I've got my nephew's wedding this weekend. So we'll see. Maybe Friday. Hot. I think it's, that's next week. We're supposed to hit the mid 90s next week. But I think it's still chilly. Like, it's only 54 degrees right now. That's cold. That's cold. It's going to be 72 today, which is okay. My wife loves it. And I'm like, tomorrow's 84. I like that one better. I like that number better. Wednesday, Friday, 78 and sunny. Sounds like a perfect day to start my fishing adventure. I need a hobby. I've got my garden, but there's only so much you can do in a garden. Like, you water it, you can prune it, and then you can look at it for a few minutes. And then it's like, and then what? So at least if I have I have an e-bike also, I guess. I could get my ass in gear and go get the key lock replaced. That was a fucking expensive bike, so I probably should do that, not just let it sit in the garage. my fishing adventures. And I was really spurred because there's a lot, like I see people fishing in our pond on a regular basis. And when I was talking to the neighbor, he's got a daughter, so sometimes they go fish. And he's like, yeah, last year we caught a big catfish and it scared her. And I'm like, oh, cool, a catfish. I'd like to catch one of those. I mean, I'm just going to throw them back. Like I don't know how to string a fishing pole. Do you think I'm going to fillet a fish? No. I did ask my buddy Mark. I'm like, hey, do you fish? Because I wanted him to put my fishing pole together. Hey, do you fish? I'm going to get a fishing pole. I don't know how to use it. So fishing with Bo, adventures coming soon. Let's go to the chat. Lewis, what's going on? Good morning. We're going to talk about eBay feedback removal today because they had their seller check-in last week. I was not a part of it. I didn't join in and listen, but I just read the cliff notes at the end. And so something that piqued my interest, feedback removal. Good morning, David. What's going on? Victor, what's up? Go Cubs. We didn't lose last night. Didn't win either. No game for the Cubs. We've got Tampa Bay Rays this week. So, and then the Cardinals come to town this weekend for a weekend series at Wrigley. Tampa Bay Rays. Jameson Taillon pitching tonight for the Cubs. There's the eBay store link, bottom of the screen, 99centcards.com. Buy 7 or more at regular price. You'll save 25% off at checkout. I did add some new inventory. I added Emmett Smith yesterday, singles. Now, I did all this sorting because I'm like, tinker with player lots, and I have. I just don't like the way it's going. Like I'm a singles seller, and so I'm like, you know what? So I listed like 50 or 60 Emmett Smith singles, and then I think, did I get these listed? I think so. Oh, maybe I didn't list the. I guess I can check my upload reports. That would have been AX. Nope, did not list those. So I guess this morning we're going to have some refractors and serial numbers and some various baseball coming to the eBay store. So right now it's that kind of that transition where I'm doing baseball, but I'm kind of melding in some football as we approach training camps in a month. Where are we at? George in the house. What's going on? George tweeted last night. He is now getting some mushroom coffee. George, mushroom coffee. Low roller scratchers here. Mikey, what's up? Good morning. What did you think of my suggestion yesterday? It was interesting. I did put some thought into it. So Mikey's suggestion, we'll scroll down. He says, would anyone else be interested in a day of the life series by Bo showing him listings? So shipping, etc. So I thought about it. And I thought like I could do where I do a live stream the entire day. And like I'm sitting in this room and I'm listing and you guys can chat and I can talk. It would be boring for me though, because when I list and ship, I have something on the background. I can't do that if I'm streaming. And then, hey, if it's like, oh, it's time to go ship, I go in the other room and I have that camera set up and it just flips over. You've got nothing going on this camera. On that camera, I'm doing my shipping. So I don't know. Maybe we could do it. But otherwise, I don't want to do a day in the life like edited. Like it'd have to be like streaming. It would not be something where, because I'm not going to edit. Like I still have my notes down for a series of eBay sales success in 60 seconds that I have not come around to doing because I don't want to edit and I don't want to, and that's something I would have to script to get it down to 60 seconds. So I just don't want to do any videos where I have to do work other than creating a thumbnail and clicking start live stream and talk. Kyle, what's going on? Good morning. Scott says, shower shavers of the world. Yes. It's a time saver, multitasking. And I think the best part of shaving in the shower The number one reason is when you shave like in the mirror and in the sink, you've got like little stubble and hair everywhere. I remember my dad was a beard guy. I've never been a beard guy. It's just when I have like what resembles a beard attempt, it's just laziness. I just don't want to shave. But when you have like that type of hair, there's hair everywhere. My dad would put newspaper in the sink. And it's like, that just looks like a pain in the ass. I'm not going to grow a beard. So I don't have stubble like all over the counter and in the kitchen or the kitchens. Who shaves in the kitchen? In the bathroom sink. I just shave in the shower. If there's some like, oh, it got the shaving cream and hair got puddled at the back, you just pull the thing down, spray it off, boom, problem solved. James says you get an open face or closed face reel. I don't know what that means. Oh, does that mean like a shaver? So and this is marketing genius by Schick, I think. So when every like, and I think it was, they probably got the list when you signed up for the draft, or I don't know. Do they still do that? Do you still have to sign up when you turn 18? Do you still have to sign up for the draft? We did. That was 25 years ago or whatever. But also when I turned 18, my birthday, Schick sent Mach 3 razor with the stick and like replaceable blades. I am still using that. That would have been 24 years ago. Trying to think, when did I turn 18? That's pretty easy math. 1982, 18 years, 2000. 24 years ago. I am still using the same Schick stick that they sent me in the mail in the year 2000. And guess what I've been buying for 24 years? Schick Mach 3 blades. 24 years. All they had to do was send me $10 at that time, probably $10, $15 worth of stuff. And they've got me basically for a lifetime. And it's so like casual. Now I know a lot of people, like I also only have to shave like every 2 weeks. So it's not like I'm not going to buy blades every week or every 2 weeks. You know, I probably only buy blades once or twice a year. But they're like $30 now for a pack. But hey, do that times whatever, times 24. Say I'm spending, say, $50 a year for 24 years. That's $1,200. Now multiply that by how many people that they sent those out to. Yeah, sure. A very small percentage are probably going to be doing what I do. But even if you get 5%, it's a huge return. Huge return. And not everybody is only spending $50. Like I'm probably like I'm definitely on the baby face scale where James probably has to buy blades every week with all his facial hair. Good morning, James. JW's in the house. Good morning. Zach and Porter are here. When people lose weight, we talked about that. They gain it back fast. I've been on multiple, like through my adulthood, and this is the first time in probably 12 years I've been on a kick to like, okay, it's time. I fluctuated a lot in my 20s because in college I put on, and I was never I never ate healthy. I was very active because growing up in the 80s and 90s, you were just active. Like that's just what you do. Yeah, we had video games and later on in high school, the internet, but we went out and played. We went out and played backyard football and sandlot baseball and shit like that. So, but then you go to college and you're not quite as active anymore. And the older you get, the less active you are for the most part. And all of a sudden the weight comes on. But in my 20s, what I've learned, especially with this weight loss thing I'm doing, What I've learned is, because I've tried it, off and on, it's like, well, I'm going to work out, I'm going to get on the treadmill, but I was still eating garbage and garbage in, garbage out. And I was still eating garbage. And it's like, I was so disappointed. I would like, man, I've been on this treadmill every day. I'm sweating and I'm not losing any weight, but I'm still drinking beer, eating sugar, eating frozen pizza, all that bullshit. Which I could in my 20s. I could go run a couple miles, come home and drink a 6-pack and eat a frozen pizza, and like I would lose weight. Metabolism, all that stuff happens. And the older you get, you can't do that anymore. And so that's what I've learned, where I'm not doing any more physical activity than what I have normally done, but the weight's coming off because I've adjusted my diet. And now I guess the older you get, it's all diet related, which is kind of a bummer. Although I don't really want to jump on the treadmill and go run a few miles either. So I'll take it. And I don't miss, and it's not like I've totally given up on stuff. Like, Anawan Fun Days, I ate a bunch of shit. Actually, I didn't really eat a bunch of shit. I did have pizza on Saturday night. We went out for dinner on Saturday night. I had pizza, and then I had brats on Sunday. A lot of beers. But it's not like I'm giving up on stuff. So, and that's the key to my thought process, my brain activity. Like, I'm not starving myself of frozen pizza and beer and shit. I just, I know I can have it, but I'm just training my brain to hey, we don't need to do this every day. It's okay to not eat garbage every single day. And so far, so good. Good morning, Mark. Numbers aren't really the indication. It's how your clothes fit looking good. Thank you, Mark. And that's what, I'm not chasing numbers. I just want to fit back into some clothes to fit better. I don't want buttons. Ping, ping. Mark Marinello, how about a Hobby Evolution happy birthday to Uncle Rich? I am terrible with birthdays. I know sometimes they pop up they don't pop up on Facebook for me, and I don't seek them out. Happy birthday, Uncle Rich. So my apologies to Uncle Rich for not knowing, and my apologies for everyone else for not knowing your birthdays either. I am a little better this time of year, though, because I feel guilty because people wish me a happy birthday. And then it's like 2 days later, it's like, oh, I can't, they just wish me a happy birthday. So it's got to be reciprocal. But by September, it's like, or August, it's like, I don't look. John's in the house. What's up? Good afternoon to John in the UK. Weigh yourself regularly once a week, same time, same day, like before a bath, shower, and don't get too obsessed on fluctuations. And that's why I held off, especially for the first month, because I do get obsessed with numbers. I do tend to chase numbers at times. So it's something I have to constantly, I do recognize the fact that that's my type of personality. So I need to recognize, and so that's why I held off for a month. Like, I'm not going to chase numbers, because if I did it like 3 days after I started and I saw no gain or no loss, I guess, I would be disappointed. And when I get disappointed, I tend to regress to the means of eating frozen pizza and drinking beer. So that's why I wanted to wait. I wanted to see that number and know that number was down because of the way my brain works. Card Hunter, what's going on? Good morning. Mikey says, oh yeah, we just talked about that. Value Box Diggers in the house. What are you talking about? eBay feedback removal. They always take the dumb feedbacks down. No. This year earlier this year, they changed and they were much more strict on feedback removal. So we're going to talk about that. They are adjusting and they are going to be less strict than what they were in the last few months. James says, LOL, watch Bo listing and shipping cards. George says, in Korea, the farmers have round cushions that strap to their ass so they can sit down when they need to. We have some of that. Like knee pads, like very similar, like knee pads that you strap to garden. And so you, because it is like when you like kneel down and like get down into your garden, pruning and shit, does take especially the older you get, takes a little bit out of your knees, your legs. What's up, Peter? Good morning. Mikey says, sounds like an interesting series to me. Kyle says, looking at fishing poles, just one section away from changing your own oil. I know it's an area I don't often frequent at Walmart. I felt a little out of place. Like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. They can spot me. They think I'm a mole. Dan laughs. James says, is the water clear or murky? Varies on depth. Throw some top water. Shit's fun. What's top water? I don't know what that is. So we have very murky water. It's a pond. So murky water. I don't know what the depth is. So the pond is 20 acres. So it's a good sized pond. I don't know what the depth is. I don't know, a couple of feet. I don't know. Does that sound right for a pond? It's up. It's actually, it went way up. So I had when I trimmed some more yesterday. I wanted a place to put my chair, so I can go fishing. My original, so it was way down because we had basically a drought up until it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. So it flooded my little oasis that I had made. And so now I've got to make a new oasis. It's probably, I'm trying to think of how many feet that would be. And I don't know if that doesn't affect depth, but it's just like wide, several feet. But I don't know what pond depth would be. 6 feet, 7, 8, 10. I mean, it's not going down 20 feet. It's a man-made pond. 10 feet. I don't know. Red light 34. Just get you a little kid's pole. Easy for you to use. That I did consider that. I'm like, I'm fishing in my backyard. Like, it's not like I'm going out to the lakes. So Dan says it's going to be 95 in South Korea. We're getting 95 next week, but we're still cold. In the 50s right now, going to be in the mid 70s today, mid 80s tomorrow, and then I think we're going to stick in the 80s until next week we get that heat wave coming. Cooter says, you need a Dora the Explorer fishing pole. There you go. Orlando, what's going on? George says, anything above 72 can suck my Peter. Cooter says, watering my gardening right now while listening. Hey. I did a little watering yesterday. It's always hard to figure out how my garden, especially this early, because it's only been, how long has it been? 3 weeks? It's June 11th. I think I did plant around Mother's Day. So it's been 3 weeks, I think. 3 weeks. It might be like 3 weeks exactly, because I think I planted on like a Tuesday, most of my garden. So 3 weeks. It's hard to tell. Looks pretty good, I guess, for 3 weeks. Good morning, Mr. Archer. Low Roller Scratcher's got a new sports pack video. Mikey says fishing is really boring. And that's what I thought when I was your age. And now the older I get, it's like I just want to sit. Like, I will sit in my backyard and do nothing. So like fishing is actually less boring than what I would normally do. Like, I'll just sit and watch the water and the birds. That's what happens when you turn 40. Your life becomes boring. But when I was your age, I would have said the same thing. Like, fishing is boring. Value Box Digger says, Cooter, I'm watering my garden too with Mother Nature's rain right now. You know, I've thought about, I saved a banana peel, and my mistake was I left it on the counter when I came back downstairs. And so when I went back up. I think I may have proactively said something to my wife, and I'm like, "Oh, I left that banana peel out because," and then she gives me the side eye, like, "You're gonna throw the banana peel in the garden?" I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna throw the banana peel in the garden. I'm going to put it in a jug of water and use that to water the garden because there's like potassium and stuff that helps." I saw it on the internet. It's got to be true. She didn't understand, and I finally explained. I think we had both like, oh, I think it was a night that Biscuit got up like 3 times in the middle of the night. And so neither of us got any sleep. We were both crabby. And so she's like, "You're crabby, I'm crabby. Let's just not talk about this." Fair enough. So I thought about saving, because I eat bananas every day. Thought about saving the banana peels, putting them in water, using that to water. I've got some other random stuff that it's been 3 weeks now that I need to put some. Today I'll put I think it's called tomato tone. It's supposed to be good for tomatoes and other stuff, I guess. James says, "I would pay money to see you get a catfish of your pole." How much money would you pay? Let's do a video. Mark, good morning. George says, "Be careful not to get a fin from a catfish in that shipping hand. They can be rough." Ooh, thanks for the warning. I'd just be like, "Oh, catfish, ow." And then James would pay me money. Good morning, Johnny. "I'm wondering who's going to take the fish off the hook for you." I figured somebody would come along with a joke like that. Who's going to put the fish on your hook? Johnny said, or the worm on your hook. "I've got my annual fishing trip with my buddies next week. Been going for over 25 years. That's cool. I've never been into fishing. Briefly in college, me and a couple buddies, we would just go to like some rivers and it was just an excuse to drink beer, which isn't fishing, just an excuse to drink beer with the guys. Johnny, fishing trips, 25 years. I think it's just an excuse to go out with the guys, a little stag weekend, drinking beers. Fishing is the excuse. So I did that in college, and that lasted all of about 3 weeks. My dad he was not really a big fisherman. Like, I remember going fishing because we belonged to the lake just outside of town, and we would go fishing out there, but we always had fishing poles. But my dad was never a big outdoorsman. Like, he was a gun collector, changed his own oil. Charlton Heston was his president. But he was not a hunter, not a fisherman. He was just a gun collector. He would shoot him every once in a while, not at me, but at targets. But yeah, he was not really an outdoorsman. And obviously, I don't know if you're surprised by this, but I was never really an outdoorsman either. Shocker. George says the shroom coffee should arrive this weekend. I'm excited to hear other people's reviews on it. Value Box Digger says, "You're a great guy and all, but I'm going to skip watching a live video into your home for a day." Well, you do it for an hour a day already. Why not 8 hours? It would be boring for me. I mean, it'd be boring. Mikey might enjoy it. He might be the only one. I wouldn't even enjoy it because I would have to remember I'm on camera. It would be Mikey's talking about fishing being boring, but you want to watch me ship and list for 8 hours? Come on, man. Sounds pretty boring to me. Dan says, "Can we see a picture of your dad?" Not sure if you've shared one. I have shared one. Let's see. Oh man, I don't think I can get on. Wait, maybe I started to write passwords down because I always have to change them. No, I have no idea what my Facebook password is anymore. Let me see. Let me Google. I'm sure he's not like. So here's this is morbid, but well, he is dead. Here's his obituary. Let's see. And this is how I remember him, and he's wearing the old man shirt. So here's my dad. Here's his obituary. Can you see that? So that's how I remember him. There he is, son of Harlan. My grandpa was Harlan Hyman. Harlan Hyman. Proudly served in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. He attended Anawan High School. Married my mom in 1981, along with 3 women before that. Worked as an assembler for J.I. Case in Bettendorf, Iowa for 17 years. He then went to American Eagle Buildings in Anawan for 13 years, from which he retired. Wayne enjoyed collecting, but not baseball cards, building and restoring old cars. Now that I read this, I don't remember my dad collecting. My dad was, he collected tools, but he collected things to use. He collected guns, I guess. That's fair. Collected guns. And then there you go. And yeah, Amy and I were not married yet. We were engaged. And there's Uncle Jack. So that's my dad. And then let's see. And then if you want an older picture, this is a backside view. We shared this the other day. There you go. 1 Million Cubs birthday party. So this was, there's you get kind of so that's my dad on the right with he's ashing a cigarette at the kitchen table as I'm opening birthday presents, and he's drinking I think that's a Keystone Light he's got there. So that's my dad in his little younger years. So he would have been, let's see, how old would he have been in that? He was probably 50 at that point. That sound right? I think that sounds right. So there you go. An older picture and a younger picture of my dad. Where are we at? Mikey says, we enjoyed watching the movers move the cards, and I also enjoyed, that was kind of fun. And I also enjoy watching your content, and I also don't have a life, though, for any other entertainment. Go fishing! There you go. Zach says, can we watch Bo prepare his tax information for his accountant so we can finally see his income? John's in the house. I haven't used a razor in decades. There's no reason to do that to one's skin. Peter says that's how you'll get in the Guinness Book of World Records. In the year 2000. Conan O'Brien. Mikey says, I thought it would help us understand what goes into a day doing it full time. Shipping and listing, listing and shipping. That's what I do, and I do it all day. Let's see. Red Light says he could not use an open face. He would have the line in all fucked up. Oh, is that a fishing pole? I thought James was talking about razor. See, that's how much of a fisherman I am. I thought open-faced and closed-faced meant, I thought that meant razors. Apparently it's a fishing pole style or whatever. Zach says, stop talking about your manscaping and get to your pre-tax income. Low Roller says, get the Dollar Shave Club. Mark says, I switched to Harry's razors recently. Best thing I've ever done to my face and dome. John says, dude with werewolf fingers telling you to use Dollar Shave Club. Dan says, I use a stainless steel safety razor in the shower. Zach says, Schick and the U.S. Army have the same database for young boys turning the age of men. John says, I lost 80 pounds in 4 months. It took 8 years to gain back a lot of it. Holy shit. You age out of card camp when you turn 18. Zach uses Dollar Shave Club, and it's still a ripoff. All the other companies are gouging us. I'm glad I don't have to shave a lot. I gained all the weight I lost in high school back in college. Yeah, I gained a lot of weight in college, and then I lost it. Then I gained some back, and then I lost it. And then I gained some back. I lost some. And I gained more, gained more. John uses electric razors, buy one every 10 years. The freshman 15. John says, I did the same, but I was in my 50s and I went back to college. Diet is everything. I'm trying to lose weight again. I don't like how I look. Mikey says, happy birthday to Uncle Rich. John gained it back in muscle. Then I converted it to fat storage. Zach says, John is right. Learn Moat at Basement Tapes 69, the I Kama Sutra edition. Orlando also says, happy birthday to Uncle Rich. Mark says, college is the best way to gain weight. I used to eat Fruit Loop sandwiches. Wow. Cooter says, your birthday is easy to remember because it's D-Day. Yes. Mikey says, I was 240 when I graduated high school, and now I'm 310. John says, Mikey, you need to find a tug-of-war team that needs an anchor. John says, I was 140 when I graduated. Then I discovered European beers. Oh, man, that'll pack it on. Scott says, happy birthday to Uncle Rich. Mikey says, I mean, I don't look that bad, but I feel like it. And that's, yeah, it's all about the feel. It's all about how you feel. John says, I cannot watch Asians squat without everything hurting me. They maintain that pose for hours. Cooter says, Uncle Rich is unable to sign into the tubes this morning. He says, thank you to everyone for birthday wishes. Brian Bourne's in the house. Good morning. John says, James typing with mittens. Zach says, tell Rich to turn off incognito on his browser so his PC remembers his password. He can look up gymnast tomorrow. George says, a 2 feet deep pond. That's a mud hole from where I'm from. Yeah, I guess it's probably more than two. It's probably, I don't know, at least 6 feet deep. John says, do you need a fishing license? Can a convicted felon get a fishing license? You probably do need a fishing license. It's my backyard, so I mean, are they really going to find me? Now that I just said it on YouTube, probably now I need to go get a fishing license. Can a convicted felon get a fishing license? I don't know. John says, matter of time before Bo gets a pontoon boat for the pond. I have thought about getting like a kayak. Everybody else in the neighborhood has kayaks to go to like real lakes. I just want a kayak to hang out in the pond. Scott says, so the podcast has really been helping me for the last week. Unfortunately, last Wednesday, I suffered my third bout of diabetic infection in one of my feet. Ouch. Yesterday, I unfortunately had to lose half of my right foot. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Between the live episodes and the back catalog, it's been a Bo up here in my hospital room. Man, get better. That's terrible. Mikey says, in high school, I worked out twice a day with PE and weightlifting and sports practice and games. So exercising was a ton. Yeah, I mean, as kids, like it's second nature. Like exercise, it's like, that's what you do when you're a kid. It's just day in, day out exercise. And then you stop when you get old. Cooter says, 20-acre pond, get a kayak to get some exercise and fish from. I have thought about it. I've never seen anybody. The only time I've ever seen people kayak in the pond is because my mother-in-law lived just a few doors down back, when my wife and I were first together, and we had a flood. We had a flood in 2018, I think, and there were kayak, but the pond was like, it looked like a freaking lake because it was so flooded. Your metabolism is only going to slow down, Mikey. Get ahead of it. Diet is everything. Yes. Saints looking for a field goal kicker. Mikey says, okay, I will try doing that starting today. Thanks for the motivation. Brian says, was in a Twitter thread about adding a specific card to your PC. I was looking for an 89 tops traded Nolan Ryan. A user had one for $3. They sell for $2 or less on eBay. I counted at $2. Seller said I should try eBay. There's a bunch there at that amount. You should try there. Some sellers are weird. That is weird. Sitting by the pond, fishing is probably more effective than blood pressure meds at relaxing the old thumper. That's kind of what I was thinking. It seems very relaxing. When I sit down there, it's peaceful. Unless there's a bunch of kids playing soccer in the park. Pop quiz. Has Bo spent more on razors than the mother-in-law has spent on artwork? Oh, God, no. I'm leaning towards Bo. He could have a pontoon boat by now if the Schick Army left him alone. The Schick Army. Harlan, good morning. Mark says, my favorite activity besides collecting cards is sitting on an inflatable chair in my pool. See, that's the type of activities we do when we age. Like, that sounds like fun to me. Like a pool, I think of swimming. And swimming, I have no interest in swimming. I also have no interest in taking my shirt off. Now that I think of it, the only time I take my shirt off is to shower. I have a shirt on I sleep with a shirt on. I don't want to take my shirt off. Kyle says, here's TMI right now. TMI story with almost 200 people watching between Twitter and YouTube. When I was a kid, I would take my shirt off to go number 2 because I thought I would get poop on my t-shirt. Kids do weird things, but I did that until I was in like 7th grade. Like, finally my puberty kicked in and my brain was like, you dumbass, just don't wipe poop on the shirt and you won't have a problem. You don't have to take your shirt off to take a dump. It's okay. So hey, sometimes we're late learners. Kyle says, put your soon-to-be acquired fish guts in your garden. One of the best fertilizers. I'm thinking of a song. What was fish heads, roly-poly, fish heads, roly-poly, fish heads. Mark says, watch the bananas. They're very binding. They make me regular, though, talking about poop. That dude from Duryea, what are you going to do if you snag a turtle? Eel on the Delaware, those are fun. Eel, ooh, I like eel to eat. Eel is good. What if I snag a turtle? I don't know. I'll probably scream like a little girl. John says, did your dad frequent the... No, my dad did not frequent the canals. Victor, good morning. I noticed in my active listings, cards that I had already sold. Is this normal? Seems like once they sell, they should fall off my active list. When I open them, it does show sold. So I think Brian Bourne actually had this issue, and we all thought Brian was crazy. Brian, are you with us? Because I think Brian had this issue. I've never heard of this, and this might happen to me, but I just don't realize it. I think this does happen. The one instance, and I don't know if you do the end sell similar, like to refresh your listings and their quantity, I think they revert back to the quantity. So say you had 87 Topps Mark McGwire and you had 2 of them and 1 sold, and you replenish, you do the end sell similar, I think it pops back up and populates it at 2 again, the original listing. So that could be why. But I think Brian had an issue, and he did figure out what was wrong. So if Brian can enter the chat and let Victor know what his issue was. Johnny M says, none of us drink, all clean, sober, a long time. Gets a vacation from wives and kids. Need it this year. Daughter's wedding Saturday, prostate MRI Monday. Oh, man, double whammy. Well, good luck. Have fun. Let's see. Low Roller Scratcher says he'll come. Okay, I'm not going to do it. If Low Roller Scratcher is going to hang out with me for 8 hours all day, I don't know if I can take that. John says, try unplugging your computer and then turning it back on. That's about the best advice I can offer. Let's see. Low Roller Scratcher says collecting is part of your family blood since he collects guns and tools. There you go. I say I get my collecting gene from my mom because I'm more of a hoarder. My mom was definitely, she's thinned it out a little bit. She's not hoarding like she used to. But I think I get more of my collecting gene from Ma. Zach says, I can live without a backside view of your dad. Value Box Digger says, Victor, that is very odd. Has that just been in the past day or so? Maybe an eBay glitch? I know their shipping is down currently. Kyle says, collecting guns and collecting cards is the same DNA, just different items. There you go. Bink Scott, what's up? Good morning. Your sister married a Rashid. Yes. Used to go to the Rashid grocery store way back when. Very cool. Yeah. My brother-in-law is Greg. I will see them because my sister's son, it's his wedding. So I'll be back there. I'll be in Kiwani this Saturday. And I will be hanging out with at least one Rashid, my brother-in-law, probably some others. God, I can't remember if it was his grandpa who ran that grocery store. It was close family because he talks about that store often, the Rashid grocery store. Andy Mack, good morning. John says open face and closed face means sandwich to me. That's my first thought. It's like open face turkey. That's what we had at lunch in the school cafeteria. But I was talking about shaving. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a razor. I don't know. That dude from Duryea says rip and brews and heaters with the kids. Our dads and uncles were all the same in the 70s and 80s. Absolutely. Kitchen table, ripping some heaters, drinking some cheap beer. No seat belts. You can get Dollar Tree. Okay, we talked about that. Shaving with a dollar store razor near your jugular is also a skill game. Brian Wolf, good morning. I use electric razors, change blades, never. Shave anywhere, anytime. So easy. Mikey wants to talk about eBay feedback now. Let's get caught up. We're almost there. Get a paddle boat. You can at least have your beer with you. That's what I thought. It's like if I got a kayak, I would have to have a cup holder. That's a good thought. Thank you. You moved up in life with this neighborhood. It is a nicer neighborhood, yes. I got a pond. I did have a tree line in my previous backyard, but that's no fun. That just brings more bird poop. James says, Madison Card Show fishing derby in the pond. Here's John with probably a link making fun of me. Red Light says, make sure you get your life jacket. I do know how to swim. I actually learned how to swim in like a coal mine lake, a old strip mine, 40 and 8. That's where I talked about we belong to the lake and we'd go fishing every once in a while. Max wants to know what a razor is. Max hasn't shaved in 20 years. Dan says, Bo is George Costanza. Ah, yes. Nice reference. Art Green, good morning. I mean, sometimes you got to take your shirt off to take a heater of a shit. It's hot, right? Yeah. Battle mode. I like it. I was just in battle mode. James says, damn, dude, power turd to splash that much to get on the shirt. You never know. You never know. Johnny says, I can no longer go to the beach. Those Greenpeace bastards keep trying to push me back in the water. Brian, there you go. There's Brian. Brian enters the chat telling Victor he had the same issue. We all thought Brian was crazy. Brian, you're not crazy. Victor, you're not either. So here it is. Brian, Victor, you need to go to your settings and select the remove out of stock items. Aha. Let's see. Where are we at? Holmes in the house. Late, but good morning. Getting scammed by a buyer. Oh, that sucks, man. And that's hard. Like eBay does not protect sellers in many of those cases. So hopefully it's different in your case. Victor says I was a guest on someone else's live stream. Low Roller says I can sell fish trading cards. Hey, that's a good idea. My hairstylist cuts my beard. I ain't doing it. Holmes says if it was $1, I wouldn't worry about it, but it's 1,000. Oof. There you go. All right, let's talk eBay feedback. So earlier this year, it used to be pretty easy to get feedback removed. Negative feedback, neutral feedback. I wanted to wait until I think it was like kind of an immediate implementation, reverting back to the old process. But it used to be like if it was kind of unfair, like they were pretty fair. eBay was to getting feedback removed, but it wasn't always black and white. Like one of the last times I requested removal, there were two. And one of them, I thought, there's no way eBay's going to remove this one, but I'm going to try anyway. And this one, I thought, oh, this is an easy removal. And guess what? They removed the one I thought they wouldn't, and they didn't remove the one I thought they would. Like, what the hell? So it's very interesting. So they did. I will get to this here in a second. We'll talk eBay here, but let me star that so I can come back to it. So they did the eBay spring, or I guess it's spring still, spring check-in, I think is what it was. Last week. It was June 6th, D-Day, my birthday last week. I was not a part of it. I just decided I'll just read. By the way, for eBay updates, I've found one of the best sites to get news on eBay updates is from a website called e-commerce Bytes. So I'm going to bring them into the chat, bring them into the screen. Where are we at? eBay. So this is ecommercebytes.com. So e-commerce Bytes. So eBay, sorry for making feedback harder to remove. So this was addressed on at the check-in last week. Andrea Stairs, vice president of really long title for Andrea. She says, first of all, I know that recently the changes we've made to feedback, and particularly to negative and neutral feedback removal, have caused frustration in the community because in some cases they've made it harder to have feedback removed in situations where you should have been protected. She did thank the sellers for direct feedback. Andrea Stairs goes on to say, last year we realized that our feedback removal policies had a certain degree of arbitrariness to them. It was making things quite inconsistent in terms of when feedback was being removed. And so we were creating some unfair experiences both for our buyers and our sellers. And I can attest, just with the recent example that I just shared, and I noticed that multiple times, like, how come this is getting removed, but this isn't? And I did notice there was a certain degree of arbitrariness to it. Andrea Stairs went on to say, we began to work to create a more streamlined and consistent process for sellers to ask for feedback removals that did not depend on who you were, how you asked, or when you asked for the feedback to be removed. So that all seems very reasonable. But as we made those changes, what we found was that we had gaps in our underlying policies so that some of the feedback removal requests were then getting rejected in situations where we really ought to be protecting you, the sellers. That's a very fair point. Let's see. So let's see. That appeared to be a reference to issues we blogged about, e-commerce Bytes, in August 2023 about reports from sellers that eBay Concierge would no longer provide sellers with a certain number of feedback removals per quarter, and that eBay customer service reps would no longer consider requests for feedback removal by phone. Sellers had to submit their requests on the eBay website. And I was always doing mine removal requests through the website. It was so much easier. Yes, it was not black. It was a little gray to get it removed through the website. Sometimes you'd have to step it up to chat or eBay Business Facebook, which kind of sucks now. That's a different story. Stairs said in her presentation on Thursday that she was working to close policy gaps and that eBay would be able to remove feedback in more scenarios and do so more consistently. She also said eBay would be adding more use cases where feedback removal was warranted. Thank you. This was my key because there were so few cases where it's like, okay, it doesn't fall in these 4 boxes, which there should be another box. Andrea Stairs says, quote, as an example, we'll be removing feedback when a seller denies a buyer's negative feedback that occurs when a seller denies a buyer's cancellation request. And that's one of them that I was thinking about. Because per our policy, you as a seller have discretion to accept or deny a cancellation request. And so if you get negative feedback on that basis, it should be removed. Now, I had an instance where I had somebody, he's a total douchebag on Twitter, and he just wanted to, and I know it was he wanted to buy something from me for negative feedback. So I canceled the order. eBay says, well, he can do it because you canceled the order. It's like, but I canceled the order. There was no transaction. How can a feedback, positive, negative, neutral, be left on a transaction that never took place. That's my, and I've had multiple feedbacks because of a canceled order. Now, I get sometimes it's like because I don't have it in stock, and I guess that can be seen. So I get there's a gray area. It's like, well, I wanted this item and you canceled it. This could also open up for sellers to cancel auctions if they, and I don't know how deep in the grass and the weeds eBay will look at these instances, but there are some cases where if you get a deal at auction for $5 and it's worth 50 and the seller cancels it because it sold for less, I think that's fair to leave negative feedback. So it's not all black and white. Okay, let's continue with the article. She also promised to be much more transparent about changes moving forward. Stairs said she had been working hard on making updates to the policy to address these gaps where feedback removal should be granted. And while she said on Thursday that eBay had more than a dozen policy changes queued up to take effect in the coming days, she only provided one example. So that was what we learned last week at the eBay thing. Seller check-in. So I just want to go in and I'm just going to go into eBay and see if they've added. Let's see. Oh, wow. They've actually made it easier to find with I used to have to go through multiple searches through eBay Help to find and now it comes right when you search request feedback removal, it pops right up the button. So here's request to remove feedback sharing on the screen. Let me go back to that. Okay. So let's just try. Here's a negative feedback I got. It says, I can't wait the card because although it says it was delivered, it was not. So let's just see if I can request to remove this. Request to remove. Let's see. Tell us what happened. Profane, or it looks like they have not. Looks like they've not updated. So these are the same boxes that have always been. So was it profane or inappropriate? No. Was personal information included? No. Doesn't follow eBay policies. Example, legal concern, manipulation, extortion. No. Related to a case that was resolved in my favor? Not really. There was no case to this. Other reason outside my control. So I'm going to click on that one. And I'm going to put this item was delivered for USPS tracking. We'll see if it gets removed. I doubt it will. This is one of those cases where I don't think it's going to get removed because I don't know. We'll see. Let's go to the chat. And we'll get back to sports card ripping teacher. Any eBay? Let's see. Where are we at? I just want to see if there's any eBay talk on here. Otherwise, we'll just get back into the regular chat. Here, Max says, a seller canceling a sale is a negative. Choosing to accept or decline the buyer's request is completely different. Let's see. All right, so let's go back to the chat. Sports card ripping teacher. Do you want Vlad Jr. and who do you give up? I mean, would I like to have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on the Cubs? Absolutely. Do I want to give up? And actually, we had a discussion in one of my Cubs chats about this. So we kind of used Juan Soto's trade from Washington to San Diego as a similar comp. And the Padres gave up 3 top 100 prospects in a fourth that was just outside the top 100. And that trade was made in August. If you make a trade for Vlad Jr. now, it's going to take 4 top 100 prospects. It's going to take 4 top 100s or maybe 3 top 100s and a player like Christopher Morel. Do I want to give that much up for Vladimir Guerrero? No, because you're talking, and when I looked, and again, this is all like, I mean, we're talking 2 years difference. The markets are different. The teams are different. Everything is so different. You can't compare, but just for shits and giggles, if you wanted to compare, you look at the rankings. Of course, those are different too, but just on the surface, just to pretend, it would be similar with what San Diego gave up to Washington. It would be similar to giving up Pete Crow Arms or Cade Horton, Owen Casey, and who was the third? I can't remember who the third was. Towards the end of the top 100. But I don't, with what it's going to take to get a player of that caliber, and I don't think Toronto really is like desperate to move him. So it's going to take a lot, and because he does have 1 year of control after this year. So I don't know. I depending on what it takes, and of course we don't know. Like there was, let's just see if there's any random Vladimir Guerrero Cubs trade. See if there's any random. What would it take? There's some rumors that they have privately discussed a trade. Let's just click on this Yahoo Sports article. I thought I read a post where it like kind of brought up a trade, but that one doesn't. I don't know. But essentially, no. With what it would take, I don't think I want to give that up. But prospects are there to be traded. I don't know if I want to give up PCA and Owen Casey. I would certainly give up, but again, you've got to have a headliner in a trade. Like if you're getting a player the caliber of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Pete Alonso, another rumored guy on the trading block, you've got to give it. Like you can't just, well, here's 5 top 100 prospects, but they're all 40 back. You're not giving up a top 20 prospect. Like you've got to have a headliner that's either a good major leaguer or a top prospect, a top 20 in baseball prospect. So that's where it's like, I'm willing to give up like a Brennan Davis, but I don't want to give up Cade Horton because he's a starting pitcher, and I just don't want to give up that. They're lottery tickets, but you never know. Who else? PCA, it's like, well, depends on who you get back for PCA. There's really not many untouchables that, I'd like to see what Owen Casey can do at the big league level. But if Owen Casey could net a talent like Alonso or Vlad, yeah, do it. But if you have to pool like 4 of those types together, it's like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do that. But that trades make it uneasy. Like trades make it uneasy on both teams. Like you're giving up 4 guys that are really unproven for the most part, for one guy that is proven. And then Toronto's like, yeah, but we're giving up a superstar, and we're getting 4 guys that may not be great. That's the other side of the coin. It's like, yeah, they're top prospects, but does that mean they're going to be top Major League Baseball players? You don't know. Brian just pulled an Anthony Volpe auto out of my 2023 Heritage High Number box. Nice. That's a good hit. Joe Olivo, good morning. All I heard, there's a guy on Twitter that has calculated the print odds for baseball card sets. Does anyone know who that is or know a resource that provides that information? Probably, is it like Topps Hobby Odds? Oh, I think Florida Baseball Card Dude has it. Topps BB? That sounds right. It's like Baseball Odds or something. Topps BB. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yes. Yes, that is the one I'm thinking of. So here's the... Thank you, Florida Baseball Dude. There it is. Topps Production BB. A deep dive into Topps baseball production across all release types. Not here to debate collecting versus investing. Over 95% confidence. I tweak when required. So what's his latest? Series 2. Approximate number of cards per player. Insert autos. About 299 for the Baseball Stars auto. I don't really care about the inserts. I want to see. There you go. So there's about 5,986 of each of the home field advantage. Woman in Baseball 5-card set, 614. Oh, those are inserts blue. Oh, geez. So yeah, that is a deep dive. That is a deep dive. Sports card ripping teacher says, I've seen that, Joe. I can try and find it unless someone has it handy. There you go. Thank you, Florida baseball dude. Sports card ripping teacher says, my wife and kids are out of luck. My work is finished for the day. Talked about that. Johnny M says, I think sellers worry too much about feedback. I would agree. But when it starts to mount, I get worried. Like if I get a negative here and there, I don't care. But when it starts to mount, and I have quite a few neutrals from the same, I think it was from the same transaction. And that's a downside to selling volume, is somebody comes in and buys 20 and they're not happy. They could leave 20 negative feedbacks. That's not good. That has not happened to me. It's happened on neutrals, fortunately not negatives. But I've had 18 neutral feedbacks in the last 30 days. And Charlie mentioned it, but neutral, it's like, hey, it was okay. But we as sellers don't see it as okay. We see it as bad. And then that negative feedback that I highlighted. Max says 100% to Johnny. Sports card ripping teacher says, if it's 4 top 100, I'd say no. 2 in a major leaguer, maybe. If this team wasn't on the cusp of winning, maybe. But at this point, he just gets you back to 500. And that's the thing. It's like, if this roster structure, the Cubs roster is just structured shitty. I mean, you've got a glut of potential, again, lottery tickets, outfield prospects, but you can't play them because you've got 2 guys that are locked into long-term contracts. Seiya can't really stay healthy. Ian Happ can't really contribute very much on a daily basis. He struggles a lot. And he's got a no-trade clause. It would be hard to get rid of Horton and Casey. Horton especially. Maybe a trade fires them up. It's all an unknown, which is fun. John just canceled an order from Zach. Looking forward to the negative feedback. People want odds like they're going to game the system. It's all rigged against you to succeed. Max says, but they still think they can beat it, John. It's like idiots at casinos. Tracy, good morning. All back from the trip to KC. Got to see 2 great games at Kauffman. Nice. That's one of the stadiums that I'd like to. I'm not a stadium like, I don't have to go to a bunch of baseball stadiums. Like I don't have that bucket list. Like I've got to go to all 30 or 32 or how many ever baseball teams there are now. I don't have to but if it works out, I'll go. If I had to make a list of top 5 baseball stadiums I have not been to, now I've only been to 6. So there's a lot that I haven't been to. Fenway is number 1. Fenway would be number 1. And that's something that I will do. Boston. Pittsburgh, probably number 2. I've been there. I've done the stadium tour, but I've never seen a game there. Pittsburgh would be number 2. Yankee Stadium would be number 3. Now I'm trying to think of what other stadiums. I think Kauffman would be up there. Kauffman would probably be in my top 5. What would be a 5th? I'm trying to think. Florida, Miami and Tampa don't really have any interest. Atlanta don't really have any interest. Philadelphia don't have any interest. Mets don't have any interest. Nationals don't have any interest. Cincinnati don't have any interest. Detroit don't have any interest. Cleveland, no interest. Minnesota, no interest. No, I'm going west. What's in Texas? I don't have any interest in the Rangers or the Astros. The Rockies, maybe. I'd probably put Kauffman ahead of Coors. Arizona, no interest. Could have done that at the World Baseball Classic a couple years ago. San Diego would probably be up there in the top 10 just because of the location. The Dodgers, probably top 10 for the Dodgers. Angels, no. Giants, probably up there just because of the location. Seattle, no interest. So I'd put Kauffman in my top 5. Let's see. Zach says, what the heck, John? Okay, I'll just buy it from your FIL. He took a bunch of your cards before he moved out. Fenway is the most beautiful place I've watched a game. That's number one on my list. Oh, I forgot about Baltimore. No interest. Red Light says the Reds. The only other person I know of that matches your disinterest going to stadiums is Anthony Rendon, right? John says the stadium is obviously Olympic Park, London. I was supposed to go a few years ago, 2020. And guess what? I didn't get to go because of COVID. Tracy says, hope to start hitting multiple parks with my wife the next few years. Very cool. Orlando says Miami Stadium is beautiful, but the Marlins suck. You can always get great seats. So the stadiums that I didn't mention, I've been to, with the exception of I did forget about the Orioles. Oakland, I've been to that dump, and I got great seats for really cheap. I've been to Oakland. Of course, I've been to Cubs and Sox, Brewers, and the Cardinals. Those are the only stadiums I've been to. So 5. Oakland. Oh, wait. And I've been to Pittsburgh. That's my 6th, but not as at a game. I did a stadium tour. So those are the 6 stadiums I've been to. All righty. I'm going to wrap it up. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Hit up my eBay store. It's 99centcards.com. Buy 7 or more at regular price. You'll save 25% off at checkout. Added Emmitt Smith to the store yesterday. Singles of Emmitt Smith. Coming up right after I hit end stream, I'll be working on a listing of some refractors. Oh, there's some vintage in there too. Oh yeah, I've got some 50s Bowman, Aaron Judge color, Bobby Witt first, some 70s cards, bunch of random shit, I guess. That's fun. So check out my eBay store. Coming up in an hour, I'll have those listed. So 99centcards.com. Alrighty. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.